Two young conservatives penned an op-ed in the Weekly Standard highlighting the growing gap between young and old conservatives and why more millennials lean liberal. According to a Pew Research study, approximately 41% of millennials considered themselves either mostly or consistently liberal in their views in 2004. By 2017, that number ballooned to 57%, with just 15% of millennials calling themselves consistently or mostly conservative. So what should conservatives do to try and appeal to millennials? And do older conservatives have some kind of a duty here to reach out? Let's ask our millennial panel. Charlie Kirk is the founder of Turning Point USA. Michael Knowles is a podcaster and author of Reasons to Vote for Democrats. And Allie Beth Stuckey, CRTV host and blogger at The Conservative Millennial. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Charlie, let's start with you. What do you think the problem is and what should be done about it?
Well, first, I'll take a little exception with the analysis. I think it's actually more tragic on the Democrat side than on the Republican side. You've seen over the last couple of years, you've seen favorability of young people's perspective towards the Democrat Party absolutely go down tremendously. Barack Obama famously got 66% of the youth vote in 2008, and then he got 58% in 2012. Hillary Clinton was right around 51, 52%. So this is a bigger problem for Democrats than Republicans. But I think the core issue is this term conservative. Young people actually believe in freedom. They believe in free markets. They believe in smaller government when properly argued to them. The problem is that the left has been so good at trying to stigmatize this term conservative, and that's a word we're going to have to reclaim.
Allie, what do you think about that? Is it should conservatives be more focused on freedom, liberty, things like that, especially when you hear about young conservatives who actually on, say, gay marriage, on marijuana use, or more about freedom and liberty?
Absolutely. Well, what it comes down to really is that millennials care more about the why than the what. So rather than only talking about the what of policies or politics of conservatism, we need to talk about why those conservative policies are actually better, not just for the rich white male, but for everyone. Why conservative policies, individual liberty, capitalism, free markets, deregulation actually helps the people that millennials really care about. Those on the outskirts of society, the immigrant, those who are in poverty, women, minorities, the LGBT community. Because the fact of the matter is, Charlie is right. We care about freedom. We care about individualism. And those two things don't see skin color or sexual orientation. I think that's a message that can appeal to millennials.
I want to get Michael in here, but first, Allie, I got to push back. I mean, are older conservatives really reaching out to, say, the LGBT community, as you suggest they should? It doesn't seem like they are.
Well, I don't want us to get into identity politics. I don't think it's necessarily about reaching out to a particular community. But you just mentioned it. But conveying a message that appeals to people of all sexual orientations and all backgrounds. And I'll also say it's not just baby boomers' job, but it's primarily our job, millennials' job. The work of everyone on this panel that we do every day, going on college campuses, having the podcasts, the shows, the videos that we put out. It's primarily our job, and I would like to say that I think we're doing a pretty good job.
All right, Michael, Charlie seemed to think that this was a bigger problem for Democrats. You agree?
I agree entirely. There's no substitute for success, and conservatives should not clutch defeat from the jaws of victory. This is a successful presidency thus far. We know President Trump did better among millennials relative to his opponent than either John McCain or Mitt Romney. He did very well. He did relatively well and better than Romney among Hispanics, and that population has increased by between 2 and 3 times in the last several decades, and it's overwhelmingly young, it's overwhelmingly millennial, which skews the millennial vote broadly. Nevertheless, President Trump did fairly well. In 1984, Ronald Reagan's support among young voters surged by nearly 40%. It surged because his presidency was successful. What we've seen in the last few weeks: excellent diplomacy in North Korea, a good economy, returned hostages, the Kanye awakening in public and popular culture. These are all great numbers, and the only poll that's going to matter is in November 2020, and I think you could see a repeat of 1984 if things keep going this way.
Charlie, something that Ben Shapiro wrote recently caught my eye. Among other things, he said the data shows that the young conservatives tend toward libertarianism on issues like drugs and sex, what I referred to a moment ago, but share the same priorities as older conservatives on fiscal and economic issues. And we heard Vice President Pence in this commencement address kind of allude to that. Look, Donald Trump is getting results on the economy, and that matters to young people.
That's correct. I do have to give credit to this president. His view has been more on the foreign policy, economic matters, and a little bit of a de-emphasis on some of these more controversial, divisive social issues. I think that's one of the reasons why he's going to continue to do well with all voters, but especially young voters heading into 2020. I always make a joke when you look at Democrats and young people's support of Democrats. A young person voting for a Democrat's like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. The Democrats want to raise taxes. They want to limit freedom. They want to do everything they possibly can. It's our generation that's actually going to be hurt the most by Democrat policies and politicians. And look, the final point I'll make is this, is that young people are disengaging from the right versus left labels, Democrat versus Republican. But again, Democrats need younger voters. It's one of the three groups that they primarily need to get base turnout for, so that every ounce of support that they lose hurts them a lot more than Republicans.
Last point here, though, will older conservatives say, hang on a second, if you're focused on the economy and not on same-sex marriage and other issues, are you pulling back from traditional values that might upset older conservatives?
Politics is downstream of culture, as Andrew Breitbart was fond of saying, but we're winning the cultural war. I think some conservatives are missing it because they expected us all to start listening to Brahms and Haydn and drinking sherry and tweed suits. That isn't what winning the culture looks like. What winning the culture looks like is Chance the Rapper tweeting out and saying, black people don't need to vote for Democrats, and Kanye West saying, I like this president, I like this conservative Republican president.
Allie,
politics is downstream of culture, but we're winning.
Allie, I've got 10 seconds. Give me one last point here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, millennials are individualists. So how we appeal to them is say, hey, it's actually conservatism that wants you to be free, to be who you want to be, say what you want to say, and think what you want to think. I think that kind of independence and individualism appeals to our generation.
All right. Some bright analysis here from some great young people. Charlie, Michael, Allie, appreciate all of you.
Thank you.